This year's truck is a 1920 GMC K71 3.5 ton. We've moved it into the museum for our 100th birthday celebration for it. We acquired this truck in 1991 from the Earl Marhanka collection in Dowagiac, Michigan. And so let's take a look at what a truck cab from 1920 looks like. You can see that we've standardized left-handed steering in 1920. Up here, we've got a spark. In 1920, you manually adjusted the spark advance for an engine, and you also had a hand throttle, so you didn't have to keep your foot on the foot throttle on rough roads. Naturally, there's no power steering, and the steering wheel has a wood rim, which was very common at the time. You've got the clutch and brake pedal. Your foot throttle is here. This is the 4-speed and reverse shift lever. Next to it, you have the high-low range, and on the other side is the emergency brake. Right, here's the dashboard of a 1920s truck, a little more simple than what we're used to. Got an oil pressure gauge and the amp meter to show if your generator's charging. Choke button, key switch for on and off for the engine, light switch, and you see on top the light to illuminate all of this is just a little light bulb screwed into the dash with a cover on it. And so this is what you had for a dash panel on a 1920s truck. The truck has a Magneto Ignition. This is the Magneto right here. It is turned by the engine, which creates a spark and which fires the spark plugs. This is the generator, provides power to the storage battery and the electric starter, or which the battery power provides power to the electric starter and the headlights. You see they've even included a little oil can here, so every once in a while you'd open this little cover, put a couple of drops of oil down into the generator bearing. You can see the engine is all cast as one unit. The block and heads, or the block and cylinders are not cast separately as earlier trucks were. Here's the head. The valves are within the engine block themselves, and the head just contains the combustion chambers. Spark plugs are on the other side. This is your water collection manifold, and the hot water would run up through that hose into the radiator, and it flows through the radiator, cooled, and run back, recirculated through the engine. Got the electric headlights. It's a great feature at the time. They're even adjustable back here. You loosen this bolt up here and this bolt, and you can see it's notched, so you can set both of them the same. Even though this truck had an electric starter, you can see they still have the hand crank start for a backup. And yes, there is a proper way to crank a truck, and that is to never wrap your thumb around the starter handle like this. You always held it like this, and that way it could go out of your hand without breaking your thumb if it backfired. So that's one thing you never wanted to do, was wrap your hand around the crank. Wrap it like this. I told you this truck had a 8-speed transmission, which was 4 speeds forward with a 2-range high-low, giving 8 speeds forward. Here it is. You notice it's not directly connected to the engine. There's a drive shaft between the engine and the transmission. This was commonly done at that time. We've got a big universal joint right here running back to a worm drive rear end. You can always tell a worm drive rear end because it has this on top. This is where the worm is. And worm drives are almost indestructible. And if you're wondering what these ears are for, this is where if you needed to service it after you pulled the axles, you could put a chain right here and lift up on it. Very heavy. Most of these were made by Timken, as this one is. Here's your brakes, mechanical brakes. One of these rods is for service, one is for the emergency. As I said, you could interchange them right up here. So you could use both sections fully up. A brake adjustment's very easy on this truck. You just turn this knob right here to take up the wear. So got solid rubber tires. These are very worn. At one time they were duals, but they've been worn so much that it's just the single base layer of rubber. Here is the cast hollow spoke wheels. Believe it or not, these spokes are cast hollow. Otherwise, I don't know what this thing would have weighed. It would have been a lot more than what it does. So that's the tour of our 1920 GMC K71. Thank you.